Good morning, Internet fans. Ryan Perry here, Simple Biz Support. Today is Wednesday, June 29th. We are literally halfway through the year at this point. It is Social Media Wednesday. I do have Sarah Giametti with Pravaro Marketing on the other side. Good morning, Sarah.
Good morning, Ryan. How are you?
I'm doing good. We both chose different colors today. It seems like we were blue the last few weeks.
Maybe we're just a little sad that the Dodgers aren't doing so hot at the moment.
They actually won a game, though, last night.
I know, I was
Amazing as
surprised.
that is.
And the
Uh,
Giants lost on top of that.
And yes, we're only 6 games back, so things are moving forward, if not for one day. Today, we are going to talk about a cool new thing that I didn't even know about until you told me about it because it just happened yesterday. It's in beta. It has some really cool features, and if you're using Twitter, you definitely want to watch the show and check out the beta version of the new Twitter dashboard.
That is correct. They just rolled it out and it allows for a bunch of things that go beyond the analytics dashboard that they've always had or they've had for quite a while. We've been using third-party software for listening, for scheduling, and Twitter's never rolled that out, which now they have. And so I'm sure it'll just get better over time.
Right. And what's really cool is that, obviously these third-party apps sprung up because there was a need. And for whatever reason, Twitter was too busy. They didn't address these needs. Now they are. Maybe that's because a lot of people are saying that Twitter has lost its edge. We'll see what happens. And before we get into all of the politics about Twitter and those type of things, we should tell you that the dashboard, if you go to twitter.com, you're not going to find this new beta dashboard. You actually have to go to, is it dashboard.twitter.com?
Yeah, so dashboard.twitter.com, and it's got some setup to it. So it's not like the old analytics where you just log in and it's automatically set up. And you still, if you're brand new to Twitter, you still need to go to analytics.twitter.com and turn that on to make sure you get both, because the analytics, I'm not sure yet if you still need both, because not all of the analytics are in the new dashboard. It'll still send you over to the original analytics for some more in-depth information. So you want to make sure you've got that turned on just as a backup, but then go to dashboard.twitter.com and you're going to go through the setup process. So you're going to talk about what type of business you are, how many employees you have, and then you're going to go in and set up the listening part of it. So specific keywords, phrases, people that you want to follow, and then you can also do negative ones, so ones to not follow and remove from your customized feed for listening.
Right. So as an example, I actually set mine up this morning. It took, I don't know, it probably took me 3 minutes going through it. So it's pretty simple. However, I did not fine tune it that much. It automatically is listening and will let you know of tweets that mention your @ name, so your Twitter handle. Additionally, because in my profile, I put in Ryan Perry, it's also finding anything that references Ryan Perry. So I know there's a baseball player now, there's a cyclist, there's a film guy. There was somebody else that run across that are not me. They just simply share the same name. So I would need to go through and kind of clean that up. Or I just need to accept the fact that if I want Twitter to listen for Ryan Perry, or just Perry, that I'm going to get a lot of stuff about what's going on. If you're worried about reputation management, this can be a very, very powerful tool, because essentially it's going to give you your own feed, is my understanding, correct, of just what you're listening for?
Right. So in that dashboard, once you set everything up, the feed that shows up is what Twitter has found based on the phrases and the handles that you've put in to listen for. And so it's a different feed than your normal Twitter feed and your normal Twitter list, where you're segmenting by following people. This allows you for the listening side of Twitter, which is really important in engaging in conversations. So it should make listening a lot easier to do, or engaging on certain conversations a lot easier to do, because it's native in Twitter, it's real time, and you're not having to have a third-party software that might might not post things quite correctly. I know I've had issues with posting through third-party software that things aren't showing up the way you wanted them to show up. So hopefully this, cuts out the middleman. It should be cleaner and easier.
Right. So you're talking about another feature now, besides the fact that you can actually listen from a reputation management to see what people are saying about you. You can also schedule posts now.
Right. But I was also talking about the listening and either retweeting or engaging. You're in the native app. So whatever you do, it could clean things up a little bit.
Okay.
But then, yes, then the next feature also is native scheduling. So what part of their scheduling also, as time goes on and you use the dashboard, is it'll give you recommendations on what to tweet based on what you're listening for, what you've been tweeting. It'll give you reminders. And it, like one of the examples to show, might remind you to share a quick tidbit about one of your employees. So it'll remind you to do things that also bring in the human element of your business and sharing that on social. So it's going to be really interesting to see how people use this, and if people transition from the scheduling apps that they've been doing over to the native app and Twitter.
Right. And one of the things I like is that if Twitter is making suggestions that are probably relevant, they should have enough analytic information globally to go, okay, we know what people want to hear about. So instead of tweeting your blueberry muffin that you had this morning, maybe we can add something of more quality. That was always the joke about Twitter back in the early days, was like, why would I want to know about what you had for breakfast? It was the quality of the content that people were providing. So having these little updates and being able to schedule updates, I think it's one of the biggest frustrations with a lot of business owners, is the fact that you want me to tweet, from a social media point of view, you got to tweet throughout the day on a regular basis. 15 to 30 is kind of the generic basics, I guess, of what you should tweet on a regular basis. Well, how are you supposed to do that throughout the day without a third-party app to schedule it out? It makes it very difficult. And you were mentioning, because I know in our own discussions offline, you've had situations where using third-party, you do something, and it did not transfer well onto Twitter, and it ended up sending a bad signal instead of a positive image, just because the picture came in wonky, or maybe the image didn't even show. So being able to do all this.
Or it didn't post at all because there was some hiccup between the third-party software and Twitter. Like, I've had all of that, and I'm sure many marketers who have used third-party software in businesses have had issues like that. And so hopefully, if people use this, it should eliminate those hiccups that you're having.
Yeah, because if you're posting natively in Twitter, which Facebook made a big push a couple years ago, they're like, hey, we want you to post natively in Facebook. You should be getting, kind of a WYSIWYG. What you see is what you get. Now, beyond having your own custom feed so you can monitor what people are saying about you, and being able to finally schedule content, and I think that's huge for business people. If you can spend 5 to 10 minutes in the morning and schedule out your content and be done with it, and then just listen to your feed to see what people are saying about it, it's going to make life a lot easier. Are there any other benefits to the new dashboard?
They did roll there, and it'll be interesting to see if they're rolling analytics fully into it eventually. They do have it on the dashboard. There is an analytics tab that is more simplistic than the existing analytics tab. So it's a little bit cleaner. You can do the last week, last 30 days, last 60 days. So you don't have the custom date audience or custom date option that you do have on the analytics dashboard. And I know in the new dashboard analytics, if you click on something to get more detail, it sends you to the other one. So obviously it's still in beta and they're still working out. My guess is they're eventually going to roll it all into one place, because that would make the most sense. But for now, you might get sent over to the analytics dashboard if you want to drill into something a little bit more. But it is cleaner. It's set up better. It's easier to figure out what's working and what's not working in a quick manner within the same platform, the same dashboard as where you can schedule tweets. So you can look and see if something's working. And that's where their suggestions will come in play also, is they'll be looking at which tweets of yours have succeeded the best, have done the best, and had the best engagement. And based on that, they'll offer recommendations as well. So it could be a game changer. On the flip side, one of my first thoughts was they're a little late to the game. Because there are a lot of people are already ingrained in whatever third-party software they're using for scheduling and listening, and they've already got it all set up. And oftentimes those third-party platforms also track other social media platforms. And so it'll be interesting to see if people do make the transition, or if Twitter does something that kind of forces your hand like Facebook did. Facebook gives preference to scheduling if you schedule within the native app versus a third party. You'll get better reach. So it'll be interesting to see if Twitter is able to or chooses to do something like that to try and encourage people to use their platform. But it is a great option for new businesses who are just getting started on Twitter, who haven't started using a third-party software, and they just didn't really know where to start. This will be a good place for you to start to get a little extra information for not any extra money and be able to be more successful a lot faster.
Okay, so let's talk about that small business owner. Maybe they've been using Twitter on and off, but they're okay, I'm going to get serious about it. What are your recommendations? We got 3 minutes. What are your recommendations for that business owner as far as setting up the dashboard and using it, say, on a daily basis? Let's just morning check-in type of deal. What would you recommend?
So first, when you're setting it up, be thoughtful when you're setting up the listening section of it, putting in keyword phrases that you have already done research on. Maybe you go to Google AdWords and see what some of the keyword phrases are that you should be listening for. Also, to have some competitive analysis in there. Listen for your competitors, because if somebody throws out a complaint where you can be helpful, that's part of the engaging, and that's a great part of using the listening features of Twitter. And engage in the conversation and not selling your services, but just help answer their questions. I know like larger companies do this famously. Airlines do it famously. Cell companies, they listen for each other's complaints and then just offer up assistance to help. You can definitely still do that locally. Look at what every morning, look and see just kind of what your stats are looking for, what your tweets, how they performed. See what suggestions Twitter has for you, and see if those are tweets that you can add into your scheduling for later that day or the next day, later in the week, that kind of stuff. And just kind of keep an eye on it at first. Get a feel for it. Get used to how it operates, what information is going to give you. So I would say at least do a daily check-in for a couple of weeks, just so you get used to it and familiar with it. And then from there, you can figure out if you need to do it every single day or if you can space that out a little bit more.
Yeah, and the one thing I'd like to add on to that is then use that scheduler. So I use Post Planner. You're using, I forget what tool.
I use Post Planner and Bundle Post. I use both.
Bundle Post, yeah. So Post Planner allows me to curate content and also post content. And it's really beneficial because every morning while I'm having breakfast, I'm doing my morning read and I'm finding content and I'm putting it out there, but I'm scheduling it so that throughout the entire day I have content, and I start early for the East Coast and I like to go late for the West Coast, but it just, that's 10 minutes in the morning while I'm eating breakfast, I'm reading and posting content, but I'm scheduling it throughout the day. The other thing, if you have a marketing calendar, I know everybody out there who markets has a marketing calendar, is think about upcoming holidays in America. We have the 4th of July coming up on Tuesday, I believe. So find something that is relevant to national holiday and post that content. If you've got an anniversary, whatever, you can, schedule that content out so it's not a last minute, oh my gosh, I got to do this, but it actually is planned, and I think you'll have better results.
Yep, definitely. And look at, the national day for whatever that's related to your industry, those exist. And you can schedule that stuff out in advance so that you don't miss the boat by accident because you get busy in your business like we all do. Yeah, and definitely upcoming holidays for America, 4th of July on Monday. Definitely want to schedule about events if you're a local business. Schedule about events that are going on in your community. I know here where Ryan and I are, there are fireworks both on the 3rd and the 4th because the smaller towns do it on the 3rd to not compete with the larger cities that do it on the 4th. So there's lots of events surrounding the holidays that we can promote for the local businesses so that you look like a local resource for more than just that. You look like you're part of your community.
Right. And that's really important. Speaking of community, unfortunately, I have to disconnect from this community. Our 15 minutes is up for this show. Sarah, as always, I really appreciate the time. Remember, go to dashboard.twitter.com, set things up. If you're not getting the analytics information, you may need to go into your twitter.com account and set up the analytics, which is it under your profile picture?
I just go to analytics.twitter.com.
Or go to analyticstwitter.com to set up your analytics. Unfortunately, it's not, they don't just give it to you. You have to set it up for some goofy reason. Next week, same time, same show, same computer, we will be talking about another exciting social media event. As always, Sarah, I appreciate your time and energy and look forward to talking to you next week.
Thanks, Ryan. It's always a pleasure.
All right, everybody, take care, and we will see you next week.